So, when you've got titles like My Genitals Have Been Changed Forever by Common Drug Taken by Millions, My Warnings to Others, I thought, well, let's have a wee look at the data here. So, this week the FDA issued a stark warning over a hugely popular hair loss drug taken by millions of men, saying it may pose a potential or potentially serious risk to their genitals. Now, men who took the drug finasteride, are coming forward with disturbing claims, alleging it left them with shrunken or bent penises, burning testicles, and deep emotional scars. In one devastating case, a grieving mother said the drug drove her son to take his own life. So Sawyer Hart, 28, revealed how the nightmare began last year when he turned to finasteride after noticing his hairline receding. He was prescribed a medicated hair gel containing finasteride through Keeps, a telehealth startup offering hair loss treatments. And I'm stuttering a bit already, simply for no other reason than I can think, was it even GB News, one of the Leo somebody or other, and it was a genuine advert about how this pillock had gone to Turkey or somewhere, to have some sort of hair implant system on his scalp, and, well, where else would it be, but these days you could... Anyway, but I just thought, what insanity is this? Now, apparently... I think I've seen a vid of his on his own channel. I'm sure somebody will drop a link in. Leo Hurst or something? I have no idea. I think he goes by what's called a comedian, and he appears to have, a thicker head of hair now. So for some, apparently this works. But I've always struggled with this because... whatever happened to the confident guys? I mean, I remember, good God, my hair was starting to beat the retreat when I was in that, by my late teens. I'm not joking you. By the time I reached 30, I thought, the comb over? Really? And I just noticed that how some men dealt with it was, fuck it, I just shave it off and, actually never look back. And that was exactly what I did. I actually found it quite a cleansing experience because all that vanity up until that point of shampooing, remember, specifically males we're talking here, and the gels and all the rest of it, and remember, I'm early Gen X, so the 80s, what was one of the many trends? Oh yeah, I got them as well. Streaks, where they had this big rubber condom over your fucking head. Well, pulling your hair through with something like, some type of knit needle type thing, and then plastering your hair with a type of bleach, and then waiting for that to do its thing, baking in. And of course, over time, as you sat there, you notice, fuck me, that's actually burning my scalp. In fact, when you reflect and look back, it was probably one of the many reasons my hair started beating the retreat by the time I was in my late teens, but, hindsight and all the rest. I would also say, if you're concerned about your hair as a male, maybe the wearing of baseball caps is not a smart move. And if anybody has a doubt in this, you'll notice if you're wearing, for example, leggings or jeans where the lower part of the leg is quite firmly next to the skin, the chafing alone takes the hair off. None of this should be rocket science. So, those baseball cap wearers that were worrying about their hair, well, one of the reasons is the baseball cap, etc., etc. You could go into the detail. And you could hit this from so many different points of view and come up with some, I would say, quite qualitative data. But, think about all the chemicals people put through their hairs, through their hair follicles, their scalp. And remember, it still absorbs things through the skin. None of this should be rocket science. And remember, to apparently reverse hair loss, they're quite literally mucking around with male hormones. Seriously. Lowering the amount of DHT. Which, the way they've worded it, right, is a hormone responsible for hair loss. It's also a hormone responsible for health. One of many hormones responsible for, well, healthy levels of testosterone, I would argue. That a good libido, a great libido. In fact, that's another common denominator, and people say, oh no, that's just a myth. But you tend to find that guys who lose their hair earlier than others have a higher sex drive. I've certainly found it myself, and what I mean by that is not because I'm going out banging guys, but is that every guy I've ever met with confidence that's just done the right thing and said, what am I doing? And just shaved it. They've never struggled with women, really, by and large. I mean, I've met a woman myself, I remember back in 2000, and she said to me, Scott, I couldn't go out with a guy with no hair, because I'd literally gone from, having some hair to, sod this, just shaved it off. And I thought, oh well, and no regrets, in all honesty, seriously. I mean, even when you look at the changing aspects of the male hero, and some could say, oh, Scott, you're now associating yourself with some male hero. No, but the Jason Strathams and whoever else of this world has certainly not harmed the cause of just shave it off, for fuck's sake. Seriously. Because if you're actually going out your way to do things that potentially will put your very sex life at risk, will give you mental health problems. That's another thing about lower levels of DHT. None of this should be rocket science, but I mean, I would argue that's why they make these kind of products. And for some, it was apparently more or less immediate or within the matter of a month or two. For others, you could argue, and successfully, it's maybe taking far longer, but the results will be the same. And to do that, what for? Insecurity. And the thing I noticed, just this particular article, and in no way is that an exhaustive search, but you notice they've all got beards as well. Well, what's that all about? Because I've said it over the years. Like, look, I've known men with beards all my bloody life, but they normally were in sort of working environments where the access to a regular shave, a razor, was limited. Fishermen, for example, would be a great example. We could go full Monty Python with I'm a lumberjack and all the rest of it with the Canadian aspect of, But, and people go, what the hell are you talking about now? But there's things I notice, and I just think, fundamentally, what their main common problem is? Insecurity, first and foremost. That's their main problem. And I notice with so many of them, there's so many more, well, what's going for men these days, with beards. And I just think it's like part of this new, like this wearing of a masculinity or perceived masculinity. Me personally, early Gen Xer, I mean, we were always pretty much clean shaven, and I think most women bloody well appreciate that, especially in certain aspects of things. You've got a couple of days' growth, and, well, there's certain aspects of intimacy where it might get a bit rough for them, on their skin, for example. But, but with guys with beards, no. Look, I get it. When I was a child in the 70s, growing up, I had an Uncle Andrew, and his name is Andrew McLaren, a great character, great guy, yeah. In my very unusual life growing up as a child, there was a situation where I was sent down with my brother to a place, I think it was York, in the 70s to stay with my uncle and auntie. And I thoroughly enjoyed the experience of my Uncle Andrew, a father figure that was, you could well say, in some respects, a reflection. He was the father I never had, and he had this Scottish, like old school, and but with the beard growth and all the rest of it, and as a child, you wanted to just sort of pull at his beard, But I just think a lot of this is sort of fraudulent. I'm not saying everybody with a beard is a fraud. I'm not saying that at all. But the guys I usually associate throughout life with a beard, it didn't really too matter much about their hair. They either had hair or they didn't. Yeah, I would say they're more confident. I just find it weird that every single one of them in this, even this guy who sadly died, they've all got beards. Well, what is it with them in here? As somebody said, I've been bald since my late teens. Get a life and stop worrying about trivial nonsense. It's true. In all honesty, one thing life teaches you if you've got eyes to see and a brain to take it in is, reflection and, what was I thinking about? Really, seriously. Sometimes your biggest enemy is yourself. The insecurity is not by accident. It's promoted in so many ways. Yeah. That was quite funny. There was a young man from Kent whose hair became increasingly spent. He ingested a pill, but it made his balls ill. So instead of him coming, he went. Fair play. Head of hair or a working willy. Now this is from somebody called Mrs. Christmas. So head of hair or working willy. Think I'd keep my working willy. After all, there's some fantastic hair pieces out there now that can be put on, and you wouldn't tell the difference. If I were a man, I'd go bald. And when you look into this finasteride about it, is used to treat. Think about this. Remember, what you're being sold apparently for the commercial aspect is a cure to hair loss. But from the NHS, it's about to treat an enlarged prostate. It can help ease your systems if it's difficult to start peeing, you need to pee urgently or more often, it's difficult to empty your bladder, blah, blah, blah. Key facts, you usually take this for about, 1 tablet a day. If you're taking that finasteride for an enlarged prostate, it can take up to 6 months for it to fully work. The main side effects are losing interest in sex and difficulty getting an erection. I mean, remember, why wouldn't that tie into depression and mental health scars? Yeah, seriously. Yeah, because remember, according to the NHS, this is mainly about enlarged prostates. Although I would argue, saw palmetto will do far more for you as a man, as a male. In fact, I would recommend, even if you're having no issues with your flow of urine just now, if you're in, say, your 30s, I would certainly recommend that you start taking saw palmetto. Absolutely. No two doubts about it in my mind. And funnily enough, I'm sure I saw data somewhere that said saw palmetto actually helped with hair loss. Isn't that interesting? And yet, according to NHS, they would recommend finasteride, which they know will cause you problems over time. Seriously. None of this should be rocket science. I'd also add to that, in all honesty, if it comes to things about hair, primarily, no jokes, saw palmetto, I would also recommend glucosamine, which is essentially a type of cartilage, yeah? It's used in the production of cartilage, should I say. And I've found great benefit of that. And of course, nails and hair both have cartilage in them. So what you tend to find within a matter of weeks of using glucosamine is that your nails grow thicker and quicker and stronger. And it's the same, funnily enough, with your hair. I mean, none of this should be rocket science. You know, I know there's massive YouTubers and whatever else waffling about various things, but I like to just keep it simple. And I'm not wrong. No jokes. You could also add to that collagen, which yet again serves so many different purposes, not least of which when it comes back to male erections. Well, you know, collagen is part of your skin. You know, think about this. So the absorption of more collagen is going to help you. It's also, I would argue, going to help you with your hair. I certainly wouldn't be putting hormones on my scalp, me strength, you know. Oh, honestly, again, always I could do a better job, but I can leave you a link to that, yeah, and that, and of course this. But yeah, I mean, reducing the production of DHT, I would say that's just wrong on so many levels. Really, seriously, that's so wrong. Really. But yeah. Anyway, I hope this has made some sense. And I'll speak to you soon.